Oh. Okay. Apa dia punya ni perlu sign in
sebagai audiens.
Okay. Webinar BookDoc.com password. Okay. COVID let's go 2020. Okay. Okay, so let's just say successful review. Okay. Put in this. Alright.
Hello, a very good morning to all of you for joining me today on BookDoc webinar. I am Dr. Chin Loi Fei, Geriatric Psychiatrist from Hospital Sungai Buloh. I would like to begin my presentation with highlighting that social distancing is not social isolation. My topic will be on social isolation. Let's talk a bit about social distancing. We are all aware about this term social distancing due to the current COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, social distancing highlighted that WHO recommends at least 1 meter distance away from each other to prevent the spread of COVID-19 virus and avoid the 3 C's. We know that the 3 C's are crowded places, confined spaces, and close conversation. However, it's interesting to note that different countries have different recommendations regarding this social distancing. Because social distancing is not separating yourself from everyone and everything. In fact, people should remain connected with this current modern technology available for all of us. Furthermore, we can do hand gestures, so there's no need for social distancing away. We just hand wave, placing our hand palm on our chest in terms of a form of greeting. Furthermore, we can speak at a distance of 1 meter. In Malaysia, it's 1 meter distance. We can phone conversation, WhatsApp, Zoom, meetings, etc. I know it's still widely used, social distancing, but then it can be misleading too. Then people avoid socializing. Okay, let's move on. Just last week, there was a newspaper article highlighted that MP realized it's difficult to maintain that 2 meter social distancing now, because they are opening up, help school to reopen, rescue the pubs, restaurants, and business has to go on. But if you were to maintain that 2 meter, it's really difficult. So they wanted PM Boris Johnson to reduce it to at least 1 meter, follow the WHO guideline. And the next day, on 11 June, Boris Johnson, their PM, plans to scrap the 2 meter distancing rule by September when school reopens. Okay, so what is social isolation? We focus on my topic for today, social isolation. Some definition I obtained was the state of being cut off from normal social networks, absence of social contact, and can lead to loneliness. In simple words, people might stay home and not going out for a lengthy period of time, especially those that live alone or stay away from other people. It's their own choice. No access to social services and community involvement, like they won't join any club, place of worship, etc. Refuse to communicate with family and friends, and not having any visitors at all. These are some of the social isolation. In fact, when you live alone, it might be physical isolation, self-isolating yourself, which can lead to social isolation. Okay, it's a big difference between social isolation, own choice, due to their preferred lifestyle. They prefer to be living alone, up in the wilderness, or in a distant, rural, isolated place. But majority is actually isolation are imposed on them. I would highlight it further, the causes of social isolation. It's just that social isolation is not for everyone. When you impose on a person, it might be difficult to adapt. Social isolation can lead to loneliness. That is well known. Some of the people might be physically able to go out, but because of different situation, hindered their ability to go out. Some of the causes are the death of a loved one, especially if they experience prolonged grief, health issues like frail, heart disease, diabetes, difficult to control, mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar depression, severe major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, phobia, dementia cases, sensory loss like blind or hearing impairment, impaired mobility like Parkinson's disease, stroke, limb amputation. And being a caregiver itself can social isolate you. Especially if you a dependent person rely on you to take care of them 24 hours. Friends and family move away, children living in another state, another country, empty nest syndrome, remote area, lacking of transportation, public transportation, elder abuse is another concern, because they might be abandoned, neglected. Family keep them locked up in the house, and the reason causes of social isolation is pandemic COVID-19. It might not be total social isolation, complete social isolation in some of the cases, but there are partial isolation in place, social isolation in place. Let's discuss about social isolation in COVID-19 pandemic in the elderly. When MCO was implemented in our country, we were told to stay home so that we can stay safe. It was sudden. Many was unprepared. This is new to us. Never in our lifetime have we experienced this. So a lot of life changing experience for everyone. We were told about guidelines, wearing face masks, hand washing frequently, physical distancing, as I mentioned earlier. Then suddenly they were told no more traveling, even within our own neighborhood or other states to visit their family members. No more usual activities lah. Elderly likes to walk, go to the place of worship like temples, mosques, churches. Everything is closed for them. No more gathering, weekend meeting up with grandchildren, family members' children. Enjoy their club activities, golf, sports events. As I mentioned, complete or partial social isolation. Definitely some level of social isolation is there, and mental health impact on them can lead to stress, distress, loneliness, depression. Ended up might turn to suicide. Elder abuse can happen when you social isolate an elderly. We have learned from the media about domestic violence, spouses of domestic violence, but media didn't highlight much on elder abuse. Imagine the children or the in-laws go out to work usually, but now the younger generations also stays at home with the elderly, so conflict will happen. Especially the elderly, frail, difficulty of hearing might irk the general adult children, and unnecessary mental and physical abuse might happen. Okay, so social isolation, there is a risk of loneliness, depression, anxiety, ended up with suicide. If the risk is minimal, why need to self-isolate or impose an isolation, isn't it? But then we have to compare the risk over benefit. But for COVID-19, we know about the high risk of elder population, especially with medical condition. They are at very, very high risk of contracting the illness. It's clear conscience that we have to keep them safe. We know we are doing this form of social isolation for their own benefit, physical isolation. So most senior will comply. They realize, they understand, and they will comply because they also want to protect themselves. Okay, just to highlight, this bar chart depicts older person preponderance towards fatality. This was in BBC. I think it should be somewhere in March. The stats might change a bit, but it's clearly seen in this graph that elderly, especially those 70 and above, and quite a large number of 80 and above, are the individuals affected tremendously by this COVID-19. Okay, we have our own local data. April, then our DG did highlight that majority of the cases in April 16, he was in the media that majority of cases were those 55 to 69 years of age contracting COVID-19 in Malaysia. And the breakdown was 32.5% of those 60 to 64 years of age were the highest. Okay, so I would like to reiterate that WHO has this mentioned that keeping other people safe and connected is everyone's responsibility. It is possible. We should provide the support and caring attitude towards our seniors. Physical distancing is not social isolation. Okay, let's look at the older person's living situation. Some might live alone. If they live alone and have no access to internet or mobile data connection, it might be difficult. It depends on, it's very individualized, and if they live alone and have no access to all this, they might be in complete social isolation. Those living with their elderly spouse, children outstation, MCO in place, can't be connected, but if they have some access to information technology connection, connectivity is still possible. Okay, the nuclear family, they have their immediate family with them, then interaction is still there among family members. And it's best among extended family who live in one roof, a few generations living together, bigger circle of family members around, lesser degree of social isolation in place. But let's not forget, there are some that are homeless or living in aged care facilities. If it's an established aged care facilities, then social connection is possible. We'll talk about it later on. I have some slides to show. Okay, during COVID-19 pandemic, the fear to the virus itself, the elderly, they fear of being infected or infecting their loved ones. So it's good. Then they are aware. They will obediently stay at home and practice all the required guidelines. But of course, distress and fear also with the changes in the routine, their daily life routines. A lot of sacrifices in place. They have to give up a lot of their outdoor activities, hobbies, sporting events, going to their place of worship. Even their visit to their regular kopitiam. I know of this elderly man who missed his regular daily cup of teh tarik. The wife tried to make the teh tarik itself at home, but he keeps complaining that it doesn't taste as good as the one that he has in his favorite kopitiam. Then the wife later came to realize it's because she didn't tarik the tea. It didn't have that full tea taste. Didn't have that frothiness. So they make do with it. As you go along, you realize a lot of things you can make changes to. Meeting up with friends, or even the talking to neighbors over the fence. All these are restricted, so that can affect them badly. And if they have no financial support anymore, suddenly everything is closed. Resources, only certain essential businesses are allowed to open, so they might not be able to get certain things of needs for them, and also the loss of income. With elderly, some of them are still working. They might be daily paid. They have daily wage, part-time job, helping out the restaurant, in the market. Some might be collecting recycled items. COVID-19 pandemic, MCO put a stop to all this. Even babysitting. Parents are not sending the babies over to for them to babysit also. And the difficulty of getting food supplies and groceries too. Okay. Okay, just to mention, the world has flipped upside down. Old folks are sneaking out and their kids are yelling at them to stay at home. Some might be disobedient. They might find it difficult, but majority do stay at home. It's a big headache for families of MCO violators. There was an article in the Star newspaper in May that 11 men were caught jogging. Foreigners, some of them were actually senior citizens. Just a highlight. Okay, senior isolation can lead to risk of death because lack of support for people is not aware. Children is away, so they are not aware that the seniors might need medical attention. Loneliness leading to suicide, especially if you have cognitive decline and dementia risk. You might perceive loneliness, can't adapt with that loneliness. Vulnerable to elderly abuse, as I mentioned before, leading to poor quality of life. Caregivers are also at risk. Be mindful of seniors with some sensory loss. Certain cases where hearing aid might improve communication. Okay, so how to avoid loneliness in the seniors? Stay connected. Video chat, social media, visits if possible, but stay a distance away from them. Landline phone call if they are not familiar with smartphone and computer. Groceries can be ordered through delivery services. Stay informed, newspaper, TV, media. Stay active. They can still do cooking with their family members at home. Focus on pets. Karaoke, some indoor games, jigsaw puzzles is still possible. I like this. This was in March. There was a highlight that Italy during lockdown they sing in their balconies, and soon after Malaysians also follow suit. There's this man who started singing in his balcony, and everyone in unison joined in, and they belted up some songs, familiar songs, and also some patriotic songs. One of it was Saya Anak Malaysia. Our DG also did mention that 21 residents, staff of nursing home, elderly were tested positive COVID-19. That was of concern. There is an interim recommendation for COVID-19 pandemic written up in March 2020. This mainly sort of a SOP guideline for the aged care facility, whereby the staff, the patient, and the family member need to adhere to it. Visitors not allowed in, only essential visits or in case of emergency. However, staying connected is still possible via virtual. Okay. Then lately, I've read that London did have this drive-in care home visit in their aged facility, where the family members can be in the car and the elderly is about 2-meter distance. This was in London. And there another media reported that in France they use this plastic bubble where family can still visit, stay connected. There's a plastic barrier keeping them safe. Okay. Okay, this was just on last Friday, published in Star newspaper. With the recovery MCO now in place, elderly are starting to come out, practicing the new norm with wearing the face mask and abiding to the new norm. All right. I end my presentation now. Thank you for listening. Any questions for me? Okay, these questions here from Mr. Alex. With interstate ban lifted, many are going back to see their elderly parents and grandparents. What precautions should we take to ensure the safety? of the elderly? Okay, it is yes, you see, a very important question indeed. It depends on our elderly parents themselves. Are they medically stable? If they are, they are. There's no reason, as long as we practice the recovery MCO guidelines as recommended, the social distancing, avoid the 3 Cs, practice the 3 Ws, wearing the face mask, hand washing when necessary, and one if possible. So there is no reason why that we cannot allow them to do travel visits, as long as whatever we have to ensure that safety and avoid this them contracting the COVID-19. Okay, any other questions? Satu saja. Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions, then thank you for listening.